All right, welcome to It's Pittsfield Tonight. Tonight, our guest tonight is a former Pittsfield City Councilor, somebody who's going to be on the show, I'm sure, quite a bit throughout the season, and he is also running for the position of Mayor of Pittsfield this year. Please welcome to the show, John Krol.
All right, Mike. Hey, it's great to be back.
Yes, thanks for coming back.
We're getting into it.
Yes.
We're getting into it.
We've done a few of these now. I've been on your show a couple times.
It's good stuff.
How's that going?
Oh my gosh! Well, I'll tell you. With the business, I have a marketing agency that I run during the day, and the podcast is a part of that. But it's probably the most visible part of it. And the great thing about it is that I'm having conversations with people every day on the air, or not every day, but pretty darn close. And so they're really in depth, and it gives me an opportunity to take it to another level with a lot of our local leaders and business owners and just people who are really interesting. And
so as of April 4th, you officially kicked off your campaign. Mm-hmm. How did that go?
Man, it was at the Italian American Club, and we had over 200 people. And the thing of it was, it felt so good. The energy was high. The positivity was through the roof. I had my dear friend, Nikita Bethel Smith, introduce me, and I was so happy that she was able to make the trip because we went back to 2009 when we knocked on doors in the West Side neighborhood. And, what I loved about what she said was that it's not that, Pittsfield doesn't have potential. The light has dimmed, is how she described it, and now it's time to fire it up again. And all night we were talking about reigniting the passion in this city. So it's not that Pittsfield doesn't have an opportunity to come back. It sure does. It's just dimmed a little bit, and we're going to fire it back up again.
Campaigning is exciting.
It is,
and it's a roller coaster ride. It has its ups and downs and all that. But are there any certain big issues that you were hearing right out of the gate from people? Yeah,
I have been talking to downtown business owners on a daily basis. My office is downtown. My studio is downtown, so I have that opportunity. But I do make it a point to really canvass that downtown neighborhood. But I'll tell you, there's so much more to Pittsfield than that. I was actually just at Currency Coffee today, and I ran into another business owner, and he said, "You know what, John? You're focusing on downtown, but don't forget us out here at Allendale. Don't forget us, in other portions of the city." And he's absolutely right. And I think that's a part of what I'm hearing when it comes down to it is I am telling everyone, and I believe this, I am going to be the most accessible mayor in the history of Pittsfield, and there's a reason for that, because when you do that, you're able to truly garner the ideas and the hopes and dreams of everyone in our community, and then that can help shape policy. So, being the most accessible mayor, it isn't just simply a slogan, and it's not simply just being responsive on particular city services. It's about getting that input and also getting our greatest asset, which is the ideas of our people.
Right.
So many of our business owners are brilliant. There are so many people who out there who
are there any certain issues that are driving things though? Like, is it crime?
It's really interesting because during my speech, the biggest reaction that I had in that room, and has been in downtown Pittsfield, has been the call for downtown foot patrol. And that's something that I believe in. I think that the issues in downtown, no doubt, they're complex, and we have to be able to get all our social service agencies together and really have those tough conversations to understand, okay, how do we do this? How do we address this with empathy, but also with consistency with the challenges that we have downtown? But we also have to have some sensible accountability. And I see our police department in action every day. I see them. We have so many great officers who have the skills, who are able to deal with complex situations, and they do it with restraint, they do it with professionalism. I think our police department is amazing, and many of those...
Would you say that's the biggest issue, would be law enforcement, or...
I think right now people's minds are in the downtown, but again, every sector of the city is different. If you're senior citizens, safety is something that is a concern concern, but also taxes is something that is a concern. People love public services as well. So I think addressing the efficiency of how we address our roads, filling potholes, doing our roads. I know there's going to be a big investment into new paving this year that this mayor is putting forward. I think that's okay, although I wouldn't necessarily have put that much free cash into it. But again, that's she's the mayor. But I think it's a good move in that direction. But I think city services is always going to be something that is talked about and is very popular. So
now North Street has been a huge discussion.
Yeah, sure.
And some people think it's been blown out of proportion or whatever, because it's bike lanes and it's travel lanes and things like that. But North Street is vital to Pittsfield. I mean, it's our lifeline. It's the main strip. I think it's great that as many people are concerned or engaged with the issue that there are. But I'll ask you the same thing that I asked your opponent when he came on, because I feel like, again, we're having this identity crisis with our downtown image, what we are. If you were to sum up in a sentence of somebody to ask you, how to describe Pittsfield, how would you brand Pittsfield? I mean,
Pittsfield, Massachusetts is the Berkshires city. We are the heart of a cultural mecca in our nation. I mean, you can't underestimate the draw that is the Berkshires. And I think for such a long time, we have not been able to really pull some of the low-hanging fruit that has been available to us. Yes, we got Barrington Stage Company to come to Pittsfield. Yes, we did the Colonial. And there is a lot happening for us. But we are the city. There's so much more. It wasn't that long ago that we had Bob Dylan and Willie Nelson playing at Wacona Park. Tanglewood has tens of thousands of people coming there every year. Even North Adams has big concerts there, and you're a music guy. Why in the world, and by the way, that Bob Dylan concert in 2005 was probably one of the best run concerts. Maybe it's 2006, one of the best run concerts that I've ever seen. Our police department and all our departments worked phenomenally to get people in and out of that concert. So, we have the potential to do that kind of event, and Wacona Park can be a venue for that. But I think when we start to look at Pittsfield as, look, we're between Albany and Springfield, and we're in this center of the Berkshires, we have the potential to bring in a lot of great artists.
Absolutely.
We should be thinking about Persit Park, I think, is one of the greatest opportunities to have outdoor music on a regular basis, not just for Third Thursdays or, not just for special events, but that sort of thing, drawing that out and having consistency of foot traffic so that we're bringing people into our businesses and really making it an event on North Street almost maybe every night if we can.
And organized with the venues or whatever the local associations, whether it be Rebecca or somebody like that.
Right, and it can be Downtown Pittsfield Inc., but then also there's music groups as well who are looking for venues and things like that. So I believe that when you create an attraction and you create a critical mass, it's not competitive with each other.
Do you see the arts as a strong point, like maybe a starting point for us as far as identity of how to?
Absolutely. I mean, we would be crazy not to. And I think that was the start of our first revitalization of downtown Pittsfield. I mean, it started with a group of artists who said, you know what? We have all these empty storefronts. We are going to put artwork there, and we are going to have working artists and these storefront artists. There was the Storefront Artist Project, and it was that energy that led to more, and then people actually moving into those storefronts, which then led to people living downtown, and so on and so forth. So this was part of a progression. I think we have that opportunity today as well, because, for example, the Clock Tower artists, we're creating a critical mass there in the Clock Tower. Now, Clock Tower is about a block and a half off what we would consider downtown Pittsfield, but that energy is right there for our opportunity to bring into the downtown. And I just feel as though Pittsfield can be the home of working artists.
Right.
We have this space. David Carver is a wonderful landlord who's innovative, and we've seen him do all kinds of wonderful things over the years. We should take his lead, support those artists, and build from there.
I think your digital footprint, how you build your image, all those things are vital to a community succeeding. Because that's how everything is found instantly, is digitally.
That's right.
So I feel like that's something we've missed the boat on for a long time. And I know we have these websites and things in Pittsfield, but how heavily are they promoted? How are you engaging with the public to get them to use it? Are we running marketing campaigns in targeted communities and maybe in New York City or somewhere? Do we have a tourism commission? Do we, that conversation can grow and grow, but I feel like we've never taken the bull by the horns as far as saying, all right, we need to market and brand ourselves as a community. Let's get that ball truly going.
And I think it's really taking the mantle as that Berkshire city, because I think the Berkshires as a whole and a lot of the cultural entities do a terrific job. I mean, they are targeted right into New York City. They are targeted into Boston, and they do a lot of that work because that really is how they survive. They have to bring that in and be able to do that. So I think there are some best practices that are already there, but looking at it, it is a huge opportunity. The other thing is, once you elevate that energy and you get people to really feel good about Pittsfield as a whole, and for my friend over at Allendale, shopping center, Pittsfield as a whole, not just downtown, but when you're looking at the downtown and you raise that energy, then you're able to go recruit. There are really great business owners throughout the Berkshires. They're in South County, maybe in North County, but primarily in South County, that may want to do a second location. We could use a tremendous bagel shop in downtown. I've said this before. Yep. It would be amazing to have a great chocolate shop downtown, a toy store, a bakery, these kinds of staples that really fill the niche in the downtown. And I feel as though...
I think have to work with each other.
Absolutely.
As far as products. There has to be some kind of commonality.
And I think there's a business, the model of business that really succeeds in the downtown is one that's a combination. You can't just simply set up retail and hope people come. I feel as though Witchlaft is a good example of this. I think Soma's Aromas is a good example of this, that you need to create it as a destination. So you have to have events, you have to have workshops, you have to do that type of thing to develop and create a community. Another good example, Berkshire Running Center is a wonderful example of that. I just had Siobhan on the podcast, and we were talking about the community, that it's not just about selling running shoes, that they do so much, and people come there for a variety of reasons, not just to buy racing flats, what I'm saying? So I feel as though that's a big piece of the downtown.
Absolutely. The whole experience has been added to retail. That's how I think retail has changed. It's not just customer service, it's the experience, and usually tied to something.
And in the case of Siobhan, for example, when you're passionate about something and you create a draw, then all of a sudden there is an economic factor there. You look at Berkshire Running Center and the Berkshire Running Foundation, they are doing world-class races in the Berkshires. The quality of those races, the steel rail is an example of that, but it's actually tourism that's coming. So it's not just people in the Berkshires that are running in these races. They have people coming from 30 different states.
So would you say business growth and business development is the strong point of your campaign?
I think that's one of those, and I think when it comes to business, there's it's a two-part element. One is, of course, elevating the reputation of the city, being able to market the city, but then the other thing is making Pittsfield more business friendly as it relates to our permitting and our building process. I think anyone who has tried to do a project or go forward with a development in Pittsfield knows that it is not easy doing business in Pittsfield. It's not easy to expand. It's not easy to have a building in the residential or commercial sector through our permitting process. And I hear from contractors who say, I just refuse to do business in Pittsfield because it's so difficult. I'd rather do development in Lanesboro or Dalton or that sort of thing. So a big part of what I'll be looking at if and when I'm elected is to be able to shift the culture in that department to have one where we're really trying to help people invest in the city and not put up roadblocks. And that is something I've heard loud and clear. So it is a combination.
We often hear a lot about, during campaign years, business roundtables and discussions. And
Yeah.
I mean, would you be, open or interested in having like a mayor's business council, something separate from any of the things that we might have now that
as far as a formal council?
Yeah, like maybe quarterly meetings or something where it's like working direct with the business owners and hearing, because that's one of the things I've heard a lot from business owners is they don't hear from anybody.
Yeah, and that's something that I definitely want to change. So, if it's roundtables, if it's just simply making sure you pop into Stephen Valenti's and the Soda Chef, once every couple of weeks to say, hey, how are we doing? Going to Jess at Dottie's, hey, how are we doing? What can the city do to help? No matter what that form is, that's what I want to do. I mean, we're going to have a weekly press conference in the mayor's office, and we can pick a time. Thursday at 3. you pick a time, but I feel that's really important because it holds the office accountable and it keeps the conversation going, so that I never, ever in an administration of mine would ever want to have the situation where it is in the paper or otherwise, the mayor can't be reached for comment. I want to have it be the opposite of that. And if it's a point where, wow, we see this mayor so much, we're getting sick of seeing him. I would rather be on that side of the line than the other way. So
I mean, in this digital world, though, you've seen how things have changed as far as with media, with print and radio and all that. But it has to. I mean, that's where once we started heading down that path. I mean, like if something's happening in the community, I go directly to the Pittsfield Police Department's social media pages. I'm going to hear directly from them. I don't need to wait and then find another media outlet who might be posting it on their social media page. So the way information is accessed now is completely different, and I think it's the responsibility of politicians to be that out there and that accessible, because if somebody like me can start a show, right, shouldn't you expect that you're going to hear from your elected officials on a regular basis?
Absolutely. I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I know there are some people who are comfortable and not as comfortable with social media, but at the end of the day, it is a way to communicate. I will hear from time to time, oh, everything on social media is it. No, everything on social media is information.
And it's people.
It's human beings, and sometimes you may not like what you're hearing from those human beings, and sometimes some of it may not even be true, but at the same time, there is always a kernel of truth, and there is something to be gleaned from that. And I think when you put the ego on the shelf and recognize that, okay, this is what's being said, then you can sit down and say, all right, well, how do we address this? And so you have to be plugged into it. I think every person has only X amount of bandwidth. You can't respond to everything all the time. But I think especially when there are loud calls constantly happening and there is nothing in response, and you can name the issue, there have been some of those issues in Pittsfield over the last few years, that's just not acceptable.
No, in this world that we're in now, everyone should be accessible to an extent. I mean, you should be hearing a lot from elected officials, I think. There's no reason not to. And doing what I do or what you do, there's more and more of that. Podcasts and localized shows or pinpointed shows are where more people are going now for information. So if I want to find out what's happening with City Hall, wouldn't I be more interested in just hearing what the mayor has to say every Thursday? Or
that's a piece of it, but I do think that there is a focus that can be provided, from the city's standpoint, that it's about allocating resources in the right way to make sure that we have, a certain amount of time set for the right personnel to be able to be addressing things on social media. So, so yes, the accessibility of having an open press conference once a week, that's there. By golly, we got to open all the entrances to City Hall.
Oh, no.
Which, I mean, and I love, and my dear friend Bill Everhart, he wrote in the Eagle and he said, oh, well, who knows what the security, challenges could be with that. There are no security challenges with that. We had 4 open entrances to City Hall forever, and this has never been an issue. If you want to pop a camera up at each entrance, fine, let's do that. But security has never been an issue. I would rather create a welcoming environment in City Hall, and I think there are so many workers in City Hall who want to provide the best service to our citizens. Having a more friendly atmosphere supports that, and along with an open door policy
Absolutely.
in the mayor's office.
And as friendly as possible, I think.
Absolutely.
And accessible, easy downtown.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes for the rest of the community when you can go right into the heart of a city for the first time and you say, wow, that was simple to navigate, easy to get everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And there's stuff to do.
And there's, well, yes.
Because, when someone comes, to the front doorstep of a city, the expectation is I should be able to park my car, go walk, and just see what's out there. So I think we have some work to do there. There are some great businesses doing amazing things, but we just got to keep on keeping on and really get downtown, get foot patrol, address some of these issues, but then also let's get out there and recruit some businesses to fill some of these storefronts and continue to support the Clock Tower artists and the cultural community to be able to find that energy and make Pittsfield the home of working artists and much more.
So now that you're up and going and it's official, everything's both you and Peter, and as far as we know, no one else has announced. They could up until July.
Sure.
How do people get in touch with you, and if they want to be part of your campaign or get more info and all that?
So we have krolforpittsfield.com is the website. So you can message us directly, or you can volunteer. There's ways you can volunteer. You can also donate to the campaign. And then there is the Facebook page, John Krol for Pittsfield Mayor, and we're very active on that, probably posting.
Do you have any
daily
events coming up or anything like that?
Boy, a lot of speaking engagements. We have one coming up at the Senior Center. We have one coming at Providence Court. We're looking for a bigger event. We're actually kind of in the early processes of having a really fun one at the Polish Falcons. So my dad grew up on Wilson Street in Pittsfield, and that's the Polish neighborhood. And we're looking to have a great band, and it's going to be a great time. So
nice.
We're kind of toying around with the dates on that, but that will be near and dear to my heart. My dad's an old neighborhood, and I have a lot of memories there. So that's going to be great. And then we're looking for people to reach out and host house parties. We already have a lot of them booked, but that I feel is a really great way to connect on an individual level, but also
I'd love to have both you
peers.
and Peter on for a debate.
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's do it. I would love to have that.
Awesome.
Love to have that.
I'll reach out to him, see if we can set that up.
Let's do it.
Well, I can't thank you enough.
Yeah.
And I'll be bugging you probably in the next day or two.
That's okay.
But it was good to see you, and you'll just have to keep me posted with anything coming down the pipe as the campaign kicks along.
It's going to be a great year, Mike.
I think it is. I think it is. It's going to be fun.
Good stuff.
All right. Well, thanks again, John. I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
All right, my man.